Somehow I suspected this video will be instantly demonetized. Click the links to support the Subscribe Star, Patreon, the various other links. So Instagram, Facebook shuts down Prawn Hub accounts after Visa, MasterCard suspended payments to one of the advertising companies. Now, that's not quite the story so much as what they shut down versus what they don't shut down. It kind of tells you the invisible elephant in the room by the footprints around it, which, trying to get people to see is, I consider it my life's work, or at least my life's hobby. So most financial companies, banks, etc., are absolutely fine with the most evil, abhorrent filth imaginable, the kind that destroys the individuals directly involved in it and the people who partake of it, including people who are under the age where they're not supposed to see this stuff. And it's like, oh, yeah, in modern America, you see this stuff everywhere. It never occurs to people to ask, like, oh, well, maybe we should fix that. Maybe we should. No, you can't fix it. I think I probably could. I bet you I probably could with this one simple trick. But yeah, that's nobody ever asked, like, oh yeah, what effect does it have on kids' minds when they see the most just reprehensible acts depicted? It's like, it's designed to destroy a nation, because it kind of seems like it is. All those tinfoil hat conspiracy guys, I wonder if they were right the whole time. But if you're opposed to globalism, then they'll kick you off payment processors and end their bankers, their business relationship with you. Laura Towler, some chick from the UK, Mark Collette, Henrik and Lana, there's a bunch of others. Like, oh, those are in the far right. I'm like, I don't think they're as far right as you think they are. But CNN told me those people were evil. Yeah, CNN's told you a lot of things over the past few years. You get on Twitter and you see Dan Rather talk about honesty in the media or something. It's like, Dan Rather, weren't you one of those guys who got fired for being a liar? It's weird that you even feel comfortable showing your face in the mainstream on a social media platform. Anyway, so what happens is, if you go against the mainstream narrative, they will do everything possible to destroy your life. NGOs will destroy nationalist movements, which is a problem because it means that they can't express themselves in the open marketplace of ideas, because an NGO owns and controls the ability to speak and, more importantly, finance it. It's weird that the government doesn't work to establish free speech in this new town square where a nation doesn't protect nationalist voices. Well, I guess they're not really nations anymore. They're more like economic zones controlled by bankers and other NGOs. But, it would seem like a nation would want to protect people who were nationalists from being oppressed by the most powerful companies on earth. And at one time, the left was a big believer in the little guys' voices versus these mega corps. But it's like, you can subvert the left. It took about 30 or 40 years, but they completely, and as people point out, it's like, they were subversive. The left was subversive. Always had that core of the Bolsheviks the whole time. I mean, I'm sure they're well-meaning, like true liberal libertarians on the left, but it's like, you're gonna have to start speaking out publicly on social media to kind of express yourself. And it's like, well, suddenly you join the far right if you're a liberal libertarian. Anyway, so they are, which is its own fascinating story, because it's like, if you examine the political views of someone who was on the left in like circa 1980, they would be way far right. We realize, like, oh, that window shifting is all actually happening. So they're openly admitting that the government is controlled by NGOs and bankers, and which again is a problem, because it's supposed to be we the people. The people want free speech in digital spaces. They don't want to be discriminated against by private companies. Anyways, one financial company cuts ties with a part of a branch of an industry that, how shall I say it, Epstein's kids and abuses adults. It's not just women who have issues. The men are also abused. It's a weird industry where people routinely delete themselves or OD, and the media doesn't write articles on that phenomenon of every time one of the people who were, a known name in that industry removes himself from this mortal coil. It's like, it briefly makes the news, but it's weird. It tells you, they tell you what they're telling you by not shining the flashlight. It's like they shine the flashlight in some corners, and then some corners are mysteriously absent. It's actually an evil industry, but the media ignores it. Then you look at the CEOs and realize, well, they're probably on Epstein's flight logs also. It's this weird open secret. People knew about Weinstein in Hollywood for a long time. It's like, you could have saved all those victims if you went after them decades ago. You could have stopped it at any time. They know the adult industry uses kids, and they know that the workers routinely self-delete. It's got to be the number one industry in the world, where if you look up somebody's famous name, you're like, oh, well, they had a central nervous system depressant. They had too much of that in their system, and their heart stopped beating. So it's like, yeah, that's self-deletion by another means. So Hollywood and the adult industry is openly evil, and it doesn't get any attention. It's like, you're getting to something interesting where you get to a blank spot on the map. Everywhere has articles, but in some areas, the articles are strangely absent, at least from the mainstream media. Then you find them on the alt media, which is weird because Reuters, ADL, SPLC, ACLU want to shut down those alt media sites that report on things that the mainstream media won't report on. At first it was Bit Chute, then Gab, now Odyssey. Then they got Kiwi Farms. I think they got 8chan or something. It's not just one site that they want to censor. It's the message. So I'm curious why the mainstream media and the alphabet guard dogs, why their behavior is such a strange way. Why would the media or these civil liberties groups want to censor alt media sites, but not sites that actually Epstein kids or facilitate that sort of behavior? If the worst people on earth, and they are, want to censor websites, then I want to investigate these sites, but I also want to investigate the people who want to censor these sites. So much of these NGOs, the stuff they do, it's performative. They push propaganda for the West in their films, but then they filter it for the East. Like nobody, and that doesn't get the attention you'd think it would get, because the media, the reporting aspect of the media needs their connections to the Hollywood aspect of the media. So some things just don't get reported. Like there's just empty spots on the map, and then when the alt media investigates them, it's like, we need to deplatform those guys. When Reuters literally writes articles saying they need to censor other media. They're not real media sites because they're not on the same mainstream narrative. Yeah, but you guys lie routinely. I mean, objectively true. You've been caught out with repeatedly lying to people for, very, very important aspects. It's not just something minor. I mean, reporters get fired all the time. You literally see exposés on Bit Chute and Odyssey of media lines setting up scenes. And it's like they didn't know that somebody was standing back with a cell phone and recording the whole setup of the scene. It's like, yeah, you guys routinely do that kind of stuff, and you don't tell people you're lying. Or you get stories wrong left and right, even to the point of being clearly obviously biased. And sometimes you get, Taylor Lorenz types or Dan Rather, or there's a bunch of those guys. Like, when those guys get fired for something so egregious, so those leading guys that got fired, you think they're the only ones in the industry? It's like, we know what's going on with the media. I think most people by now, unless you're so deeply on the left and you got your head in the sand, most people know what's going on with the media. So Visa says that they'll support any company that's legal, even if it has a history of malum in se acts to kids, or where the performers take a bottle of pills and a whiskey chaser. They openly support that industry. But if Laura Towler mentions the Puppet Masters, her bank will cancel her. So nationalists care about the nation, but they get canceled by these corporations that seek to destroy nationalism and structure. I'll say it like that. Like open secret with these companies. Open secret with with Weinstein. Probably an open secret with Epstein too. It's like, oh, yeah, are you going to do anything about that? My representatives? Not so much. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys all next episode.